I want to show you something else. We've got an MFP opportunity coming up, that's the K through 12 thing, and they'll be in here to talk about that more. But one of the things they have in there is that you can use scholarships so those students can go to a technical school, community college, or vocational school and learn other skills, or if they're real rocket scientists, they can take advanced physics or calculus at the college while they're in high school, because those of you that have ever had seniors in high school lately know that the senior year is kind of sort of a gray period where maybe they're not as challenged at some schools as they should be. But this will allow them to do this. We're going to see if this video will click, and this is what I hope can happen with some, so that you'll see some kids.
I have to say, I remember back when I was in high school, I really didn't see how any of what they were teaching me in high school was really going to help me.
In high school, I'm there pretty much all day, and it just drags out.
Well, like many high school students, I really don't like school, nothing about it.
At high school, I just sit around and get ready to sleep.
Pretty sure there's not going to be a job out there that requires me to write my resume in the form of a sonnet.
High school is just you learning what you really don't need.
I was pretty fed up with high school. I felt like it wasn't really taking me anywhere in life, and I decided to drop out of high school. That was my plan.
While I was at high school, all the teachers put us in these little categories where you were going to make it or you weren't going to make it. And I had no teachers pulling me along, trying to go to college. They're all like, well, you might make it, you might not.
Some of them would say, not you, not someone else, you know, it's just not going to work.
Made up my mind that I wasn't going to college.
MSCC come out to our school through CAT conference, and they were telling us how, you know, students in high school can go to college and earn college credits while also earning high school credits, which is called concurrent classes. And I decided to do that, and I looked through the courses that they offered, and they offered diesel technology, and it was just basically fundamentals on how diesels work. And I figured, you know, if I could do it and if I had the aptitude for it, I would stretch it as far as I could, and I ended up loving it. You know, this is where I belong. I can now see that college is for me, and that, you know, college has benefited me.
This program has helped me open up doors for the rest of my life. I would never be able to dream about working on a big truck unless this course was here.
At first, I wanted to take diesel technology, but counselors and teachers was pushing me towards manufacturing. I really didn't know what it was, so I didn't want to be in it until I got in it, and yeah, I loved it.
Ever since I was a young child, I'd always been interested in computers and technology and stuff like that. And so it just so happens that MSCC was offering a program that dealt with computers and stuff like that. So I decided to stay and get in that program.
When MSCC came to my school, and they was telling us about how we can go to college and high school at the same time. And they was telling me some things about manufacturing. And my dad, he was something like a manufacturer. He did like maintenance work, and he would like build and stuff.
When you come to MSCC, you find yourself, you're on solid ground. No one is able to shake you off. Nobody's able to push you into something that you don't want to do.
And so I went home, told my mom, my sisters that I get to take concurrent college classes while I'm in high school, and I get both college and high school credits.
Now that I'm actually in college, they're looking at me like, well, is this my brother?
I guess my good deeds have spread on to my family because they're all here now.
If I wouldn't have came here, I think I would have probably been working at McDonald's, or probably got a job at Burger King or something like that.
Anybody else?
Start here, go anywhere.
Now that is from Mid-South Community College, which is in West Memphis, which is a real tough area that's had some economic difficulties. And really the idea of understanding that the American dream was out there was very difficult. To me, it really changed the dynamic for all these kids, and that's what I think can happen here. We know that our workforce requires technical skills at different levels. Certainly we need the engineers and the Ph.D.s and the chemists and all those, but we also need those that can make those things happen in the plant and on. So that's important. And there's a new book out that really helps us sort of focus on that, and that's Jim Clifton's The Jobs War, and he really did some surveys. But he really talks about that the lack of jobs will become the root cause of almost all the world's problems that America and other countries will attempt to deal with through humanitarian aid, military force, and politics. Whoever wins the jobs wars wins the war. And that's where we are, and that's what we have to think about as we move forward in Louisiana. And it says that really our ability to have the bully pulpit out there in the real world is dependent on the fact that people see the American dream as something that's possible and that it is a good way of life. And at the point that the gross domestic product that China has been growing a whole lot on in the last 20 years, once it surpasses us, then our bully pulpit won't be as powerful. So from an American perspective, we have to make sure people have the skill sets to work in your companies and move forward. The other thing it talks about is a thing that people had projected our downfall actually a lot earlier, but because of entrepreneurship during the baby boomer generation, we actually outpaced expectations for our economy. And I think it is the opportunity to create and dream new things in America that makes us different. He does say that for us to recognize that the solutions are local, that we have to build these city-states. We're going back to Athens and Sparta throwing bows and arrows at each other, and you have these city-states that have density of educated and skilled workers, access to good health care, and communities that count on each other to move forward. Have your whole city wage that war, align your efforts, and don't allow your constituencies to always rely on Washington or Baton Rouge for a solution. I added the Baton Rouge for solutions part. So grassroots efforts, you sort of see around the state there are some people that have been doing this. Shreveport has a committee of 100 that has recommended that there be some changes in their higher ed structure up there. That's a grassroots effort that may or may not be successful across the street, but to me it's very endearing to me that there were some local people that stood up to the plate and said they wanted to see big changes and it need to happen now. The other thing to keep in mind is you got two types of leaders, and you got local tribal leaders who are the opposite of predatory elites, people who are really concerned about their community, and that matters. And the other thing is just making sure you have a community that really works. You got to have the health and safety needs occurs. There's got to be a safe community. And if we do all these things, I can assure you that as a community we're going to have greater civic involvement, a lot more volunteering, more access to blood when you need it, less need for social assistance, which should be desired by us all. And here's the incarceration rates by college education level, and you could see that you're less likely to be convicted if you have more education. You might still be, but less likely to be convicted. Percent below poverty, of course, is reduced. Even in this economy, we saw that. Unemployment rates by education level are a lot lower. Home ownership, it used to be a good thing. You can see how that's more likely if you have education. And then, of course, the critical thinking things. All the business surveys say, well, our guys, y'all Sundays don't have critical thinking skills. Well, this is proof that they can. You know, in Louisiana, we have those drive-through daiquiri places, and about 8 miles beyond that, we have a alcohol checkpoint. So the question is, and this is not from Louisiana data, but if you're stopped at a roadblock for drinking, and while you're drinking, are you wearing a seatbelt, right? So here's the data. The more education you're more likely to wear a seatbelt if you're drinking. Now that's critical thinking skills used. Now here's the neat thing. They followed up on this survey, because you know we like to follow up on surveys for the extra grant money. What if you are legally drunk? And notice how the numbers go down, but for those with a bachelor's or higher, even more likely to wear a seatbelt. This is definitely proof that higher education can bring you the type of skilled and educated and thoughtful workers that you need to work for you. And certainly educational attainment is up over a lifetime, $1 million versus a high school diploma. And that contributes back into your community, and of course our tax base, and just reals a better off way of life. I think we're at the point where we were after World War II. The federal government invested $1.6 or $1.9 billion annually to take those folks that won the Great War and so that they can build the greatest economy. And it required that combination of work ethic that the military and the war winning did with the skill set that they had to do to be successful to build this country, and I think that's where we are now. So my thought is that perhaps this state's greatest generation is at the schoolhouse door, waiting for the opportunity to propel our state into the global economy. And I think that's where we should go, and I hope that we can provide you the workers, and you can help us provide you the workers in any way we can. I'll be glad to take any questions. Thank you.